We have breaking news from the NHL regarding the Ottawa Senators. Ladies and gentlemen, it has finally happened. DJ Smith has been fired by the Ottawa Senators. We'll discuss what are the moves to the coaching staffs, who's replacing him, and can they still make the playoffs, or is it too late? Coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have some pretty significant news from the NHL. We have another coach fired, this time Ottawa Senators head coach DJ Smith, which really most people thought, especially by the way the season started, probably could have been the first coach fired this year. But here we are. As of right now, DJ Smith is out. They've also let go of assistant coach Davis Payne. Davis Payne worked with the forwards as well as the penalty kill on special teams. The penalty kill has been atrocious this year. It was pretty decent last year, as was the power play. Both special teams have taken a step back from where they finished last season. Obviously, the forwards, obviously are offensively are doing pretty well, but there's no back checking. There's no defensive play. Like there's just really a lot that's broken with this team. I do think this team has a lot of talent, and they are not playing to their expectations. Or were the expectations coming into the year maybe a little too high? Perhaps so. And I guess this will be the opportunity for President and interim GM Steve Staios, along with new owner Michael Landlauer, to really assess the roster, because you know what? These players, they've, for the most part, the ones that have been drafted and developed, which is a large part of their crew, they've never seen another coach at the NHL level. They've only had DJ. So in order to really see what they're capable of, I think they need new leadership there and new guidance, new coaching. And I think fair to say now they're going to be held accountable. So DJ Smith had a record of 131, 154, and 32 during his tenure as head coach in Ottawa. No playoffs reached during his tenure. That's a .464 winning percentage, which is brutal. At the same time, you can't completely fault him for all of those losses, because he came into this team knowing they were going into a hardcore rebuild. Really, the first 2 years, they weren't expected to win a lot. So those first couple seasons, they knew they were doing lots of losing, going through the growing pains, getting the draft and development, getting the picks, and they did that. And last year, they were expected to take a step forward, and even though they didn't have a great start to the season, by the end of it, you could say they did take some good steps forward. But they didn't continue with that this year. They took some steps back, because it really, at the end of the day, they're about the same spot as they were last year. After the same number of games, there's almost identical to their record. But based on how they finished last year, it's just not the same. Not the same at all. There's too many things that are not working. Obviously, Pierre Dorion didn't last long with this new ownership group. And then 26 games into the season, DJ Smith has let go. Davis Payne has gone. Obviously, their last game was a thrashing against the Stanley Cup champion Vegas Golden Knights. They actually had a really good first period. Ended the period 2-2. And things were going from there. But then in the second period, like we've seen a lot of times, they fell apart. And they allowed 2 goals and then a third with mere seconds left on the clock. Complete collapse. They've used the excuses of not getting the bounces a lot this year. And trust me, I've seen all their games. They have had their fair share of bad luck. I don't know that it's any worse than any other team, though. That's the issue. So DJ Smith is finally out. I never like to cheer for anybody to lose their job, to be completely honest. DJ Smith seems like a really good person, a really good dude. I know the players really liked him and did connect with him, but I think they need somebody else to teach them about how to win, and they need to teach them accountability. This team has not been held accountable. DJ Smith on the offseason was even asked, how are you going to do things differently going into this year with higher expectations, a stronger roster? And he said that it's going to be different now. We're going to hold them accountable. We have to teach these things, and da-da-da-da. And he hasn't done any of that. Nothing. You start your fourth line in a game against the Stanley Cup champions when they're starting Mark Stone. In his line. What are you doing? You put your fourth line against Eichel and Stone to start the game. And then a lot of times after a goal is scored against, you throw the fourth line out again. Really questionable stuff. The defense looks lost. The forwards aren't back checking. There's no accountability. And that's all going to change. New head coach, at least on an interim basis right now, is Jacques Martin, who was recently hired by the Senators as a consultant for the coaching staff. We kind of figured if it got to this point that they had to make this move, that Jacques Martin would be the guy taking over. and Senators legend Daniel Alfredsson joins him officially as an assistant coach. So Alfie's already been with the team all season, helping them on the ice a bit. Player development was kind of more of his thing, but he's also was on the bench when they went to Sweden. They won both those games. Obviously, Alfie, well-respected guy. Those two guys, they're going to right the ship. I mean, not to say that the roster is perfect, but they are going to hold these players accountable. They're going to teach them better structure. They're going to put in things in place to know that is this more of a coaching issue, or is this as much on the players? And we'll know soon enough. If the players under this kind of guidance can't get it together, then the team is going to have to make more roster moves than they probably expected to get to the next stage. It's just that simple. The onus is now squarely on the players. They've been a team that's still very immature. Even Captain Brady Tkachuk, I love Brady to death. Great player, emotional leader. But there's a lot of times like he just does stupid stuff that's immature. Gets himself in these situations where he'll retaliate or he'll get in a fight, and then he's expected to be one of the top offensive players. It's not his role to fight. Yes, he's a big, strong, tough guy. He can beat up a lot of guys. That's fine. But it's not his job. His job is to score goals and to lead on the ice. And you see him at when things go bad, you know that he's going to end up in a big fight and get kicked out. And I don't know. I mean, you can only do so much to fire up the bench, but that's not really his thing. They all need to take a step forward with their effort. They need to take a step forward with being accountable and held accountable. They need to take a step forward with working on becoming more mature, and they need to be taught how to win. DJ Smith could not teach them how to win because he didn't know himself. It's just that simple. He's never had that same success. It's hard to teach something when you haven't done it. Now, not somebody has to get there for the first time, but, it's not usually a great mix to have an inexperienced coach with an inexperienced team. You need sometimes a more veteran guy to come in who has that experience. When Jacques Martin took over this team, the first time around it was 1996. They were at the bottom of the league, and then they went on to have 8 consecutive years of, playoff success. Not only making the playoffs, but winning in the playoffs too. They had a great run under Martin, and then that continued for a while afterwards before things, obviously, eventually under the Melnick era, start tumbling back down again. But at the end of the day, I think this was a mercy rule as well. They just couldn't let DJ continue. I think Michael Andlauer and Steve Stajos came into this season prepared for DJ Smith and Pierre Dorion to have as much rope as they needed to get through the entire season. They're on expiring contracts. Why not let them fulfill it and just really evaluate? But then you had the early controversies. Of course, you get the Shane Pinto gambling situation, which threw the team for a loop. And then you had Pierre Dorion costing the team a first-round pick because he messed up that Dadonov trade a couple of years back, which is finally coming down. And punishment comes as the first-round pick being taken away. So they have to fire Pierre for cause because of that. And now you're in a spot where the team is, the season's pretty well almost lost here. You're going to have to take an immaculate run to get back in it. The fans are upset. The fans want better than this. They deserve better than this after all these years of losing. Again, they were forced to do this. They didn't want to make these moves. But, they prove that they're not the people to be running this franchise. It's just that simple. Like I said, I feel bad for DJ Smith. He seems like a really good guy. I know the players loved him, but I hope they can look at this and be like, as much as we love and respect him, we weren't having the success, and we need somebody to teach us the things that he just wasn't able to do. It's just that simple at the end of the day. Jack Capuano, assistant coach, has also been invited to remain on with the team. According to Bruce Garrick, there is some belief that maybe he's mulling over the possibility of staying versus going. We don't know. I'm a little surprised, to be honest, because obviously Jack looked after the defense, and the defense has been bad, I guess, under Martin. They probably feel it can be greatly improved, but still, he has head coaching experience. Obviously, he was kind of overlooked here in this case, which I think is fair considering how long he's been on the staff. He's been with DJ, I think, the entire time he's been there. So, at the end of the day here, they probably by next season, I would suspect, they're going to have an entirely new staff. Martin and Alfredsson may remain on, and they may go, make some changes to that. We'll have to wait and see. But I would say Capuano, even if he finishes out the year, he probably departs in the summertime. I mean, he's probably interested in seeing if he can find himself a head coaching role somewhere else, but time will tell. So let me know your thoughts on this finally happening. Will the Sens be able to climb back into the playoffs? The math says it's going to be incredibly difficult. They're going to need a hamburger type run, or what we've seen here with the Oilers after changing the coach when they went on an 8-game heater. They need something like that, and they need it fast in order to have any hope, or it won't be long before that hope is lost, and you're playing out the season just looking for strictly evaluating for future, which is, again, really a kick in the you-know-what when it comes to the fans after being patient with this team for so long. So let me know your thoughts on this move and what the future holds for this franchise down in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.